It's already been brought in. What is up? It's Whitney Bro. And for today's video, I'm doing a good old-fashioned shop my stash inspired by a friend of mine. Her video, I'm going to have it linked below, but I watched it and I was like, you know what? I am going to do one of those myself because it sounds fun. Shout out to you, Tina. So for the shop my stash, I'm going to be using the Soph X Revolution eyeshadow palette. Oh, excuse me. This is the Extra Spice. So this is technically her second collab with them. And I really don't know what I want to do. I thought about doing something brown. I thought about doing something rosy. I think we're going to go with rosy because I haven't done a rosy look in a minute. So I'm going to use my bperfect Perfect Prime eye primer. And we're just going to go right in. If you guys have this palette, do you have a favorite shade from it? Or do you like the entire palette? Do you like the first one better? I personally never had her first palette. And it was discontinued by the time I learned about it. So that one bit the dust for me. But I do think this one, the last time I checked, this one was still available. So I'm just taking a big fluffy brush for that mulled wine shade. It's not something that we want a whole lot of precision with. This is just going to be our transition, and we're just going to kind of blow it out of the crease. Just gonna keep deepening that up with the same shade. I'm not using any extra shades yet. Then I'm gonna go into the shade Enchanted, and we're just gonna pop that right in the corner. In the outer corner. And this one too, we're being a little bit lazy with, just getting it in there for right now. And I'm going to go back in where it got a little bit messy with that first shade. And I'm just blending out any harsh edges. This palette is kind of old, to be completely honest. Probably got it in 2018, I want to say. So the fact that it's as old as it is and it still performs really well, I think is just a testament to the quality that Makeup Revolution has in their collabs. I will say some of their regular eyeshadow palettes, not very good. Some of their, I feel like their collabs are almost always better quality than the other palettes they come out with. I really don't know why that is. For the shimmer shade, we're going to go in with the NYX Glitter Glue. And I'm just going to pop that kind of messily all over the lid. I just like to use this because it really makes shimmers pop. Gives them a little bit extra oomph, and Makeup Revolution is not known for their shimmers. That's not an area of expertise that they have. They're not terrible quality, but they're not like jaw-dropping intense by any means. So we've got that on. Do you have to wait? It doesn't say anything about waiting. So we're just going to go right in. I'm going to use that shade Romance. That's just this kind of rosy tone. And that is going to go on the outer corner. Basically right on top of where we had that deep shade at. It's a really pretty shade. I'm gonna make sure we build it up high enough so that you can actually see it when our eyes are resting. And then we're gonna go in with that shade Every Day, which is just kind of a rosy pink. And that shade is gonna go right in the inner corner. And we're gonna pull it back some to help blend out that harsh line between the two. And since we did the eyes first, we're gonna go in with a baby wipe and just clean up those edges, make them nice and sharp. And I can see that this side's blended out a little bit further than this side. So I'm gonna blend this out a little bit more. I don't want it super duper sharp. So that's the other thing I'm doing, is just going back and kind of smoking out the edges where we just wiped. And then I'm gonna go re-establish that dark shade. I adore this eye look. I think it's really pretty, really rosy. I'm going to charge my camera because the battery's blinking, and then we'll be right back with the rest of the face. I don't really have anything for primer to do for Shop My Stash that's not different than what I usually do, so I just did that off camera. We're going to skip it. And then for foundation, I'm using the Pretty Natural foundation from Essence. Pretty Natural Hydrating Foundation. This one's actually brand new, which, talk about Shop My Stash. I remember this foundation being very watery, but I remember liking it. So we'll see. And it might be too light because it might be my winter shade. That's not terrible. That's not terrible. If it was a better color match for me right now, I would definitely be using this way more. I really like how lightweight it feels on the skin. Despite being a more watery foundation, I really, really do like it. I had to have stopped using it because of the shade, because it's not a perfect match for me right now. But it's not bad. It's not terrible. So I definitely will be keeping my eyes out on that one because it has hyaluron. It says hyaluron. Oh, it probably means hyaluronic acid and aloe vera, but it just says hyaluron. Don't know why it says that. But this foundation was really affordable too. I do think they discontinued it. Maybe that's why I stopped using it. For concealer, I'm going into the Black Radiance concealer in the shade Fair to Light. And this is a newer concealer for me as well, but I definitely haven't used it on camera, so I figured it'd be a good candidate to do Shop My Stash. I'm going to let it sit there though so that I can get more coverage out of it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the other base products. For bronzer, I have the NYX matte bronzer, and this is in the shade Deep Tan. Used to use this bronzer all the time, as you can tell from the pan. I don't use it as much now because it is a very, very matte bronzer, and I tend to like something a little bit more radiant, but I do have a product to kind of make up for that lack of radiance. It still gives a beautiful, beautiful bronze though, especially to the cheeks. It's a little lighter on my forehead because my forehead is darker from multiple pool days and vacation, etc. But it's just not quite as bronze as I would like it to be on my forehead. But like I said, on the cheeks, it gives a beautiful, beautiful bronziness. The next product in the Shop My Stash is going to be blush, and I'm using the Tarte Amazonian Clay blush. I don't love them because of their recent issues, we'll put it that way. But I do love this blush. It's in the shade Blushing Bride. But we're using something a little bit more cool toned since our eyes are that rosy. We don't want to use like a pink or a peachy because it just wouldn't look right with the tones that we already have on our eyes. Basically, they pay Black creators dust. They don't get invited to their to their brand trips. They don't do collabs with Black creators. And when they do get invited to brand trips, they basically are treated like second-class citizens and only get part of the same benefits and experiences that their white counterparts do from Tarte. So, not a good look. And then they release complexion products that couldn't even work on a paper bag. They try to claim inclusivity, which is really gross. But the blush is eating. Since the blush is laid down, I am going to go ahead and blend that concealer out. And this is like my perfect shade. And yes, you did hear correctly. This is in the shade Fair to Light because this brand is for Black people. Point blank, period. White people have plenty of brands that, again, like I said, don't sell anything beyond the color of a brown paper bag. So, yeah, I really am liking it so far, though. It has a really, really great formula. So, if you're Black and you're watching this, I would get this concealer. You could also be not Black and my same skin tone. Then you could probably make it work for you, too. But if you're Caucasian, don't whine about the fact that they don't have a shade for you. The brand is literally called Black Radiance. Like, I don't know what you expected. And it was created out of necessity during a time when you couldn't get complexion products for Black people through mainstream brands. So again, insert the clip.
It's for Black people anyway!
Really do like that finish of that concealer. I think that's going to be a new staple for me because that is, I really didn't use that much. I'm going to update you guys on how this wears because I am going to wear this to work. And as long as it wears well, that might be my new favorite concealer because it has a little bit of a peachiness to where it kind of color corrects. I don't know. You can see the material. Next up, we're going to go into the e.l.f. Prime and Stay Finishing Powder in the shade Light Medium. It's technically a finishing powder, but I like to use it to set my under eyes with. Because it adds just a little bit of brightness. And it really does help it not crease. It kind of makes everything nice and smooth. Really only like a couple bucks. So this is one of the e.l.f. products that has remained from back when they were way cheaper than they are now. And I get they're elevating their formulas and such, but to me, you should never forget where you came from as a brand. And to a certain extent, I think they have forgotten a little bit because they have skincare that's like almost $20, and that's not drugstore pricing. The next product I'm going to go into is the one that I was talking about bringing back radiance with, and this is the Revolution X Rachel Leary Golden Hour. And it technically is a highlighter is what it says on the back, but it was meant to be a luminizing bronzer. If you're deeper than I am, though, it would be a beautiful highlight. But I'm just going to take that on a What is this? A BH Cosmetics Studio Pro fan brush. I don't know if BH exists anymore. Like, I know they're technically under Makeup Revolution now, but I don't know how that works. I don't know if they still have their own products. I have not looked at their website. I don't know if they still ship from the US. I don't know anything. So, sorry for my lack of knowledge on that. I'm going to find out and I'll put it in the description box, so that'll tell you, but I'm not going to be able to tell you. And this basically is just bringing some radiance back to the skin, but you can see just the nice sheen it's brought into the skin. Brought in? It's already been brought in. Anybody watch Not Another Teen Movie? The next product for Shop My Stash is going to be a highlighter, and I'm going to be using the Catrice Sungasm highlighter, but it's a massive pan. It's like as big as my face. It's probably not very deep, but the good thing about this highlighter is you really don't need that much. You don't need that much for a blinding glow. It's one of my favorite I have to stop myself from using this all the time because it really is one of my favorite highlighters, because it's blinding and it will work on any skin tone. It doesn't leave a cast, but it has that blinding effect still. It's just a gorgeous highlighter. Such a successful Shop My Stash thus far. And next up, we're going to do eyebrows. And the product I have for that is the e.l.f. Wow Brow Eyebrow Gel. I really do like this stuff. The only thing I don't like is when it gets low, you have to kind of scrape it off the sides. I probably just need to buy a new one. And it does kind of have little fibers. I don't know how it works if you have sparse brow hairs. You might hate this brow gel if you have sparse brow hairs. I have very, very thick brows, and they basically just need minimal filling in. So I love it because it does exactly what I need it to do. But keep that in mind when you're listening to reviews or going to purchase a product. Is it meeting your needs? And are your needs the same as the person who's using the product telling you that it's good? For mascara, I'm going to be using the Kush mascara from Milk Makeup. I absolutely adore this mascara. I actually was sent this mascara in a contest I was a finalist in. I really do love the formula of this mascara. And I would use it a lot more because it is a really good mascara. I just don't love the brush. I wish the brush was like a thinner, one of the thinner, more like synthetic ones, which they might have a different mascara that has that kind of brush. But I figured it had been a while since I had used this mascara, so now we have the eyes. We're going to jump into the last products, which are for the lips, and that'll conclude the Shop My Stash. So for my lips, I'm going to be using the Smashbox Be Legendary lipsticks, which I don't think they make these anymore, but mine's in the shade Mulberry. And I'm just going to use this kind of around the perimeter. And then I'm going to go in with the NYX Matte Lip Cream in the shade Los Angeles. And that's just going to go right in the center. And then to line everything, I'm going to go in with the shade Vamp. I like to use this last instead of first because of how dark it is. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. And if you are a returning subscriber, I appreciate you so, so, so much. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. You know, we're pretty lit over here. I upload 2 times a week, Mondays and Fridays. And with that being said, Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!